This is sort of a little taste of a longer piece that I kind of want to do because we've been covering all of the Twitter Files drops. And so this is obviously a story that we are very much interested in. But former Twitter employees testified before Congress yesterday about censorship and their terms of service enforcement regarding misinformation, hate speech, yada, yada, yada. Now, among those who were asking the questions was, of course, AOC. And we're not even going to get to the substance of her interview here because she felt a need to, before even starting with her line of questioning, she felt a need to somehow, for some reason, sow doubt about the validity of the Hunter Biden laptop story, which has already been validated multiple times by multiple outlets. But let's hear her try and raise this issue again as if it's not already settled. This was quite bizarre.
Start off right here at the top here. This isn't even my line of questioning, but I'd like to submit to the record a Washington Post article now warning about Hunter Biden laptop disinformation, the guy who leaked it. Here's the deal. Before I even get into my questions, I think that the story here with the Washington Post reporting is that what they're saying right here, when the New York Post first reported in October 2020 that it had obtained contents of a laptop computer allegedly owned by Joe Biden's son Hunter, there was an immediate roadblock faced by other news outlets that hoped to corroborate reporting, as many did. The newspaper wasn't sharing what it obtained. New York Post had this alleged information and was trying to publish it without any corroboration, without any backup information. They were trying to publish it to Twitter. Twitter did not let them, and now they were upset.
Yeah, well, okay, first of all, what you're saying here implies that it's Twitter's job to vet the accuracy of every story shared on its platform. That is not Twitter's job. It is impossible for Twitter to do that. So if you're still going to try and raise doubts about the validity of the story, even if you can raise doubts about it, that still doesn't explain why Twitter felt the need to spike the story. News outlets get stories wrong all the time. All the time. Those aren't pulled. This was pulled, obviously, for political purposes, as the Twitter Files later confirms. But even the premise is wrong, which is that because this story wasn't sufficiently vetted by the Post, it's Twitter's job to spike it? Since when? Since when? Are they spiking that Seymour Hersh piece now? That Seymour Hersh piece is based on one source who has not come forward. And Seymour Hersh is under no obligation to reveal his source. That's journalism 101. But no, Twitter's letting that go around. You can share that. You can read that. You can put that on Facebook. You can put that anywhere you like. Is that verified to the standard that would satisfy AOC, according to what she's talking about here? Probably not. But, of course, it's February 9th, not October 30th. There's not a major election next week, which is why we're allowed to share the Seymour Hersh article, but we weren't allowed to share that Hunter Biden laptop article.
Yeah, and if anything, the Seymour Hersh story is more damning because, that predicates, an act of war. You're talking about this. Yes, this is serious enough, but of course, with the timing of it all too, it's fairly obvious even to people who aren't even paying attention to politics that this was like some dirty tricks to keep Joe clean till the election. Like you said, it's not going to come out in October, and now you're seeing a little more of acceptance of that idea now, but that's the horse has already left. You're going to shut the barn door now. It's too late.
I believe that political operatives who sought to inject explosive disinformation with the Washington Post couldn't get away with it. And
that's just astounding. That's just astounding. That is such a perverse distortion of what actually happened, which is that real information was suppressed out of a political motivation shared between Twitter and the Democratic Party, who pushed for that story to be suppressed. along with the FBI. What did they say? 17 agencies signed a letter saying that was Russian disinfo. So what she says there is just a complete distortion of what actually happened. And now she says they're livid and they want the ability to do it again.
Now they're livid and they want the ability to do it again. They want the ability to inject this again. So they've dragged a social media platform here in Congress. They're weaponizing the use of this committee so that they can do it again. A whole hearing about a 24-hour hiccup in a right-wing political operation. That is why we are here right now. And it is...
First of all, it was not a 24-hour hiccup. The story was suppressed through the vote, which was about a week. That's called an October surprise. That never happened because the IC and Twitter basically colluded to spike that story. This was revealed in the Twitter files. No, we've seen the emails. We've seen the documents. There's no mystery about any of this. The history of how this happened was spelled out very, very plainly for all to see.
It's just an abuse of public resources, an abuse of public time. We could be talking about healthcare. We could be talking about bringing down the cost of prescription drugs. We could be talking about abortion rights, civil rights.
Oh, that's rich, because all that talking we did before the Republicans forced this hearing. Look at all that talk that they did about health care and prescription drugs and civil rights and voting rights. What of that got passed in the 2 years before the Republicans took over? Did I miss something, Warren? Or is it now that the Republicans are here wasting time with this hearing? Now we can't do the business that we were sent here to do because the squad was ready to push all those bills through Congress or hold up the process until that happened. It wasn't until these Republicans showed up that now, we're stuck doing this.
Yeah, a whole 2 years before the Republicans showed up too. And you notice the only ones who are even mentioning the Twitter files are the conservatives, right? You're not hearing a peep from the Democrats about this, not even acknowledging it because they're afraid it'll have some sort of legs on their side of the aisle too. So, and why aren't they talking? And in that, so if they're not doing that, why aren't they talking to the intelligence community that was involved in this too? Where is their hearing? Why aren't we hearing from that too? This just seems like more par for the course. When she was supposed to come in and bring the ruckus, we all know that's all. It was more fuckus than ruckus, and now we have. It's just they are just straight up. All the squad is just straight up going party line, trying to protect Joe at all costs, and it's just sad to see. You know, you would think. I mean, I don't know how long this is going to persist. Like these proceedings, maybe they will bring members of the intelligence community in, but I doubt it. You know, it just seems like this is just another dog and pony show, and she's just trying to run cover for the establishment. And if anybody can't see that now, they're just in the cult, and they're never going to see it.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And I think the intelligence community is probably viewed as the constant in this sort of formula, right? If this were a science experiment, they would just be that constant, immovable thing. Whereas, yes, we all know the FBI, the CIA, they get to lie. Nothing happens to them ever. They are going to spin whatever version of reality suits them. And part of the charm, theoretically, of these tech companies being privately owned is that there should be some autonomy there to the point where they can push back against them, right? That would be like one of the novel things about them being privately owned, right, and operated in a for-profit way, is that they would be able to resist that. But of course, they didn't, right? And the Twitter files had a whole chapter on that too, about how the FBI really ingratiated themselves with executives at these social media companies. Just like, you know, in the mob, when the FBI agent, you know, buddies up to the mobster, right, proposes as his friend for a few months, gets to know him, then shows him his badge. Okay, now you're in trouble. Now we have you by the balls. Now you have to do what we say, or else you're going to jail for 30 years. Do what we say, you'll go to jail for 10, right? That's a similar thing to how they operated this, how they ran this. But what she's saying here is just obviously just a complete perversion of reality. And the idea that the Republicans are just sort of doing this out of sort of hollow political motivation, as if the effort to spike the story, which ended up being a real story, was not exactly that. It's just, like I said, it's just so incredibly twisted. It's just so Orwellian. And look, if, you know, pick a name out of a hat. If Senator Chris Coons were doing this, you know, or if, you know, Sean Patrick Maloney, if he were still in Congress, if he were doing this, if Nancy Pelosi were doing this, it'd be one thing. To see the person who we invested in as, you know, a left movement carry this banner now is just like you said. They're in the cult now. This is it. I mean, going to these lengths to try and what, save face for Hunter Biden? I mean, are you kidding? Like, what is the benefit here? What is the payoff here?
I mean, it's not a nothing burger either. It's the son of the then vice president, you know, working for this energy company in Ukraine, which happens to be embroiled in this war with a country that we're clearly trying to weaken. There's that. I mean, that's too many fucking coincidences. I mean, come on.
No, that's a great point. I mean, the idea that it was just the dick pics, as if that was the only information on this laptop and it's not in the public interest to know. Like, excuse me, the guy had a seat on the energy board of the country that we're now funneling tens of billions of dollars at a clip to perpetuate a war that is threatening to go nuclear any day. Like, of course, that is in the public interest to know. Of course, it was not a nothing burger. It wasn't just a salacious gossip TMZ type story. Oh, we're going to see the president's son's dick or whatever. You know, of course, there was more to it than that, obviously.
Voting rights, but instead we're talking about Hunter Biden's half-fake laptop story.
Oh, there's the money quote right there. We could be talking about all of this stuff.
Drugs.
Let's just play that again. We can talk about
abortion rights, civil rights, voting rights, but instead we're talking about Hunter Biden's half-fake laptop story.
It was not a half-fake laptop story. It was an entirely legitimate laptop story, as the Washington Post has since confirmed, and as the Twitter files have since revealed. The executives at Twitter knew it was a real story at the time they were censoring it. We saw the emails from Yoel Roth saying, how are we going to justify spiking this? We can't call these hacked materials. We have no idea that they're hacked materials. There's no policy violations here. This is all documented. This is all out there. How you could say in a public hearing that this was a half-fake story, that is just performance for the libs. And this is why I come back over and over again. I know I'm a broken record on this, but I have to be, because I'm the only one who has the balls to blame the voters, because that's where the blame really lies. And by voters, I don't mean all voters. I mean voters who vote in Democratic Party primaries. Voters who feel that because they carry the New York Times under their arm, they know all they have to know, and they don't care to listen to anybody else. She's speaking to those people. I'm calling this half fake, and you're going to believe me because you're going to believe everything I say, because I'm on the good team. And so you take my word for everything. That is all that is. That is a signal. Nothing more, nothing less. And it's just really upsetting. I mean, at this point, it's not upsetting, because at this point, what else would we think she would do? But it, you know, if you take a big picture look, it's just really depressing that someone who we sent there as the sort of counterweight to the establishment Democrats would be trafficking in that just absurd, just overt gaslighting.
And 2018 seems so far away now. You know, it just seems it's only been like, you know, a handful of years, and you're starting to see like other members of Congress in the squad who are falling in line with it too, because they know that they got their marching orders from the DNC. That, you know, they were probably told, look, you know, you're not, you know, we're going to give you some crumbs here and there to satisfy the base, but for the most part, you're going to be you're going to be towing the line here, or we're going to primary you, and you're going to be gone. And the only thing you're going to have left to deal with is
Jewish space lasers.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
All about Jewish space lasers. So,
I got to say, as a Jewish person,
I'm a Gentile, but I play one on TV. So it's all about. I just wanted to play the Jewish space lasers.
And that's okay. I got to say, as a Jewish person myself, I always took that space laser thing as a bit of a compliment. Like, I was never offended by it. I mean, we don't actually have them, but I think it'd be kind of cool if we did. It's kind of nice that people out there think that we have them.
Please clap.